Alright, this started off as a normal tool review about the Makita framing nailer, but I heard something about the Makita framing nailer that made me dig a bit deeper. Apparently it's illegal in Japan. This framing nailer that just came out a couple of months ago, it's not coming out in Japan. They're actually going to develop a completely different one just for the Japanese market. Okay, so I started going down the rabbit hole, why is it illegal? And I was talking to my friend who actually lives in Japan. Her name is Nikita, not Makita, Nikita. And she said, I'm pretty sure that you can get framing nailers in Japan. My colleagues said that you can. So we started digging, we saw a few that were online, and yeah, it looks like you can buy some framing nailers there. But then I talked to Makita New Zealand, and apparently in order to use a framing nailer in Japan, like the Makita one, you have to have a gun license. Makita New Zealand went over to Japan when they were developing the gun and just before they released it, and they weren't allowed to use it in Japan. They can use it here, they've got them here, and they were using them in their offices and everything before they were released. But when they went to Japan to meet the team there, only a select few of the Japanese team were allowed to fire the gun. And when they handed it over to the New Zealand guys, they could hold the gun, they weren't allowed to fire it, and they weren't even allowed to have a battery in it, just to meet the Japanese gun laws. Now, not all framing nailers require a gun license. It's all to do with the internal mechanism. So these powerful battery framing nailers that we've been using and that I rate highly, they have what is called a pneumatic spring coil. That's the internal thing that fires the nail, and they're really powerful and they're really quick. That's the key. There's other versions, like what DeWalt used, called a flywheel system. What on earth? And there's another version that Makita also used called the electro-pneumatic system. Those two things have something in common, and that is the ramp-up time for the nails. There's more time in between the firing of each nail. Now the reason that matters, the new Makita framing nailer has a very, very quick ramp-up time. So it is classified as an automatic weapon. Basically a gun because the nails can be fired really quickly, and therefore you need a gun license. So that's why this Makita framing nailer is illegal in Japan. It's not illegal, you need a gun license to use it. While I was going down this rabbit hole, I came across an article from the 90s, and it was when Bill Clinton was going to visit Japan. There was some summit or something. In the lead up to that event, they went around to 40,000 carpenters and collected their nail guns so they wouldn't be armed during the visit. And they also went round to a bunch of bikie gang members, I don't know what gangs, and they asked them to behave during the duration of Bill Clinton's visit. The Japanese, just like everybody else, but more so. Alright, let's review this nail gun, shall we? It's been about 5 or 6 years since I asked myself the question, when is Makita going to release a framing nailer that only requires a battery? Well, they've done it. Ooh. The Makita framing nailer is long anticipated, especially for those of us who use Makita tools and wanted a nailer that fit the platform. But the big question is it worth the wait? Alright, let's start with the positives. This is a solid framing nailer. Here's one of the positives. It was made in Japan. And I don't know what that's worth, but a lot of people look at Makita tools that were made in Japan over Makita tools that were made elsewhere and rate it higher. It's like getting Coke made in Mexico. Whether it's better or not, maybe that's a question for Makita, but this one was made in Japan. It has no problems firing into multiple types of timber. No problem with pine. No problem with LVL. Ooh, no problem with Rimu as well. They made it nice and powerful. So it's had absolutely no problem sinking nails, but sometimes it doesn't fire them.
You do need to push it all the way in.
Whereas with his Milwaukee framing nailer, he didn't have that problem. Oh, that's the only thing. Yeah, every now and again you push it in. Because I don't have that at all with this. I mean, allow me to illustrate. when I try to make it happen on purpose, it usually only happens when I'm firing a few nails. So that's fine. No problem. For this nail gun to work, your finger has to be off the trigger, then you engage the nose, and then you pull the trigger. If you have your finger on the trigger and engage the nose, nothing happens. I think when you're firing a lot of nails, and sometimes you inadvertently press the trigger at the wrong time, and that's how you're getting that misfiring. So like this could happen with any gun. If you press the trigger at the wrong time, it's not going to fire. It just happened more when we use this nail gun compared to all the other framing nailers. And honestly, I wasn't even going to bring this up, it's user error, but that was literally the only problem I could find with firing nails with this nail gun. So it's a good framing nailer. Now Makita have a good track record of making tools. They've made some amazing tools, I use a lot of them. So we're expecting a lot with the nail gun, especially considering how long it took them to release it. Milwaukee came out with theirs in June of 2020, so it's coming up to 5 years old. Hikoki, their framing nailer, came out in 2017. So what, like 8 years now? And now Makita have finally released a nail gun, and honestly it compares to those nail guns. Guns that have been out for at least 4 years. And on top of that, the Makita is heavier than both of them.
Oh my word, that's heavy.
Yeah. So the reason I'm making an issue about the weight is because that is the biggest put-off with these kind of nail guns. In New Zealand, Passler is the most popular nail gun. You need gas, which is the downside, but you're like 2 kilos less than this. Way lighter. You hand a nail gun like this to a typical builder in New Zealand who doesn't use them, and they just go, oh my god, that's so heavy. So imagine the Makita users sitting there with 18-volt batteries, powering all their tools, not wanting to get another battery charger, and then this one finally comes out and it's the heaviest of them all. It's like Makita have arrived late with a nail gun that feels outdated.
You have to be a big buff builder to cope with this one. Okay, I'm done.
Alright, so we've established that Makita took their time and they haven't delivered a nail gun that's a game changer. But it is a good nail gun. And if you're a Makita battery tool person, it might be perfect for you.
Oh, it feels quite butty, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's definitely got some giddy up. That's good.
Now one thing I really like is the button on the nail gun. There's only one of them. That's all you need. You turn it on, you turn it off, that's it. The Hikoki one has an unlock button and then it has 3 other buttons. And they have their purpose, but I think a nail gun only needs one button. Now the Makita one is in a good place as well. It's right at the top, approximately where you would look if a nail misfires. The other thing is it has a rafter hook and a belt hook, and that belt hook is good. It holds on well. It has the problem that a lot of these battery nailers have in that it is too close to the magazine, so you kind of have to wedge it onto your tool belt between the magazine and the belt hook. I haven't seen anyone solve that problem yet, but I just appreciate that there is a belt hook. And they have an option for an extended magazine, which is fantastic. Takes your nail count from 50-ish nails to nearly 100 nails, 97 nails. And it also comes with this. This is the No-Ma tip. Plastic tip that goes over the claw of the nail gun, and then you won't dent whatever you're nailing into. And speaking of the nose of the nail gun, it's got a really good nose on it. It grips well, and it's good for skewing, and yeah, you'll be really happy with it. It also has a fantastic depth adjustment, although it is made of plastic. The Milwaukee one is made of steel. Now, according to the marketing, with a 6-amp battery like this, it can shoot up to 1,000 nails. And another good thing about it, I think it's a good looking nail gun. It's handsome. Handsome for a nail gun, for what it's worth. So if you are a Makita user, adamant on getting a Makita nail gun, this does a lot of good things. But man, it's heavy. It's just so heavy. That's all I think when I pick this thing up. I'm lucky. I get sent a lot of tools because of this YouTube channel, and the tool companies are usually really good. They do not ask a lot of questions and they don't have any demands. They don't tell me what to say. And Makita are really good for that in particular. They usually send it, and I'm not even sure they watch the videos. But in this one instance, with this nail gun, they said, okay Scott, we're sending you the nail gun. It is heavy, but it's well balanced. Which, obviously that's important to them. They want that said. So let's look at that. So from the marketing and from what they said, they spend a lot of time distributing the weight so the center of gravity is where your hand is, on the grip, here. They spend a lot of time making this ergonomic, and it is well balanced. That does help make it feel lighter. It's still over 5 kilos though with a battery, but it is well balanced.
It actually feels lighter.
Really?
I think so, because of the balance.
Huh. Kind of pulling your wrist up here.
That's right. So
the 40 volt system, another Makita system. And for those who don't know, it's not compatible with the 18 volt system. So if you're like me and you've switched over to the Makita 40 volt system and you buy this new nail gun, you're going to have to get different batteries to operate it. It only takes the 18 volt batteries, and they haven't released the 40 volt version. And I have absolutely zero information on when they're planning to release a 40 volt nail gun, or if they're planning to release one at all. But here's a fun theory. Just imagine that they're holding back. This is being very charitable towards Makita. But just imagine for a second that they're holding back with the 18 volt nail gun, and they're saving all their really cool features. Maybe it's lighter, maybe it's 2 kilos lighter. Maybe it fires nails magically. Maybe it opens a beer for you. Maybe it cooks you lunch. Maybe it is the perfect nail gun, and they're just saving it for the 40 volt system. Makes you think, doesn't it? What would the perfect nail gun be? Let's think for a second. I mean, really it's just a hammer with a magazine on the side of it, and you just hold it, and then you press the trigger here, bang, nail. No recoil, weighs like as much as a hammer. That'd be perfect. And you can put it in your tool belt like this, you can barely feel it. Perfect nail gun. But short of that, we have to put up with weight, bulkiness, belt hooks, buttons, battery life. And is that so bad? We're pretty lucky to have what we have, I think. When I first started, it was pass load only. They'd only just stopped using pneumatic guns in New Zealand. They told me tales of hoses draped throughout the building site. And now we have battery only options from multiple companies, and they're all competing with each other. And we benefit. I don't know, I'm grateful. So who is this nail gun for? If you're a Makita user and you just want one battery platform, this could be your nail gun. If you want the best one, I think maybe the Hikoki one's worth looking at. And luckily, I have a video right here. Right here? Yeah, right there. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the framing nailer, and I'll see you in the next exciting episode. Oh, and before you go, that story at the start about the United States president going to Japan and then collecting 40,000 nail guns. Yeah, Clinton ended up cancelling that trip. I wonder what they did with all the nail guns.